You said there are five features of SOAP UI,
Mm-hmm.
but on that slide it shows only 4 features. Functional testing, security testing, load testing, supported protocols.
Okay, let me just open it. Yeah, we can perform the load testing. We can perform the security testing. The functional testing also we can do, and there are supported different protocols are supported here, like the SOAP protocol is supported, REST protocol is supported. Apart from that, we have GraphQL and some other technologies as well, which are supported here. And another thing which is not mentioned in the slide is basically we can also automate the testing. So we can automate the API testing, and we can write the scripts here so that the testing can be done automatically.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
So are you able to install and?
I installed it.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. So after that, you can actually refer to the
User guide.
yesterday's recording, and you
Yeah.
can proceed accordingly.
Yeah, probably on the weekend because I really didn't have much time.
Okay. Okay. Fine. So let's start with today's session. I will just start the screen sharing. Okay. Let me know once the screen is visible.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. So, yeah. So today is the 16th session of our testing batch. And today also we are going to talk about SOAP UI. So there are different functionalities available in the SOAP UI. So mainly we are going to look into that. So the first thing is the properties. So there are different levels where we can set up the properties, and then we can use that in different level. So we can set the properties in project level. We can set the properties in test suite level, test step level. So these are the different things that we are going to see today. And then we can access this property values using the Groovy script as well. So that also we'll see how can we access those. And then we will see how can we use the property transfer or value transfer, and how can we write the property transfer step. Okay, so these are the things that we will look into this today. So what are the properties in SOAP UI? So properties is basically it is similar to the variables. Okay. So what are the variables? So variables means the values that we are passing through our request. So those we can actually store as property, and then we can store it in different places or different test cases or different test steps. So what will be the benefit of that? The benefit of that will be we can store the values in a single place, and whenever we need to make changes, so we don't need to go to each test step or each test case, and we need to make changes there. We can just make changes in one particular place where those property values are stored, and then those will be reflected in all the test steps or all the test cases, or like all the test suites that are available. And another thing that will be beneficial is we can set these property values at different levels as well. So accordingly, those values will be like overridden. Suppose we have stored something on the project level, and then if we are storing the same property in the test step level. So the value of the test step level will override the value of the project level. Okay. And
Mhm.
then how can we actually access this value? So this is how we can access this value. So if property is saved in the project level, so to access that value we need to use in this way. And then if it's stored in the test suite level, then we can use it in this way. If it's stored in a test case level, then we can use it in this way. So it will be a dollar sign, then uh, opening braces, then hash, then either it's project or test suite or test case. Okay. And if it's stored in the test step, then it will be properties, and then hash the property name. So the name that you are storing, that will be used here. There are other properties as well, like system, environment, global, but those are not that required. So mostly we are going to talk about the project level, test suite level, test case level, and test step level properties. Okay. So let's start with SOAP UI. I'll just open the SOAP UI and we'll start with there. Okay, I hope my SOAP UI screen is visible to you.
Yeah, this looks good.
Is my SOAP UI screen visible to you?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. Okay. So again, we are going to create a new project, right? So I will click on the new SOAP project, which will create a new project for me. So it will ask me about the project name and initial WSTL. So I'll just paste the initial WSTL, which is the our calculator application. And the project name, I will give something like test properties underscore calculator. Okay.
Mhm.
So you don't test the properties, so it will be test properties underscore calculator. I'll just click on OK. So this is creating this project for me, test properties underscore calculator. I will just go ahead and delete this because this is not required. Okay, so we have 4 different operations available here: add, divide, multiply, and subtract, right? Now what I'm going to do, I will create one test suite out of that. So here we will have one test case for each operation. Fine. Create a new empty request. That's fine as well. Add, divide, multiply, subtract. Okay, fine. Click on OK, and this will, I need to provide a name. So let me provide calculator property test suite. Okay, fine. So my test suite is also created. Great. So we have all those test cases, and under that we have the test steps. And under the test steps, we are having this request bodies, right? Fine.
Mhm.
So now the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to create those properties. Okay. So the first thing is, as we know, we can have the properties at the project level, right? So let us create the properties in the project level. So this is our project, right? This is the project
Mhm.
that we have created, test properties underscore calculator. So just double click on that. So once you double click on the project name, it will open up this window, right? We can maximize it as well. So once you maximize it, here the properties will be selected by default. Okay. So now let's add a property. So to add a property, we can add the property from here. Okay. So the property is added here. Now what we can do, we can add one property, say variable one. Okay, variable one, and we'll give the value as say 10, right? We want another variable as well, so I will name it as variable 2, and I will give the value as 20. Fine. So these two properties I have added at the project level. So this is a project level. So these two are the project level properties. Fine. Now, next, where can we add properties? The next level is the test suite level, right? So for that, we need to double click on the test suite. So this is the test suite. I will just double click on that. So this will open up this window. I'll maximize it. So once it is maximized, I have this properties option here, right? Can you see? Okay. So I'll go here and I'll again add two properties here with the same name. I'll give variable one, and now I am going to add the value as 100, right? And then I'll add another, say variable two, and the value I'll be giving here 500, right? Okay. So these two are test suite level properties, right? One thing that you can notice here is the variables are having the same name, right? So the variables are having the same name. The test in the project level, we have variable one and variable two, but the values are different, 10 and 20. And in the test suite level, we are having the same variables, variable one and variable two, but the values are different here. So how these values will be used and which values will be taken, that we will see later. So the next thing is we can also have the properties in test case level, right? So to add a property in the test case level, we need to double click on the test case. If we double click on the test case, this window will appear, and here we have this properties option. So here also let me add two properties with the same name. So it will be variable one, and the values I am passing as say 1000, and I will add another value, say variable 2, and this will have the value say 10,000. Fine. Okay, so this is a test case level properties, right? Now next, where can we add? We can add the properties at the test step level as well. So to add the properties at the test step level, we need to click on the test step and we need to right click on the test step. So here you will get add step. So in the add step, we have an option called properties, right? So I will just click on that. So it will ask me to provide a name for the step. I'm fine with properties, so I'll just click on OK. So this will open this particular window. I'll just maximize it. And then again, I will add one property called variable one, and I'll get the value as say 5,000. I will add another one, and I will give the value as variable 2, and the value should be 10,000 here. Okay, fine. So this is a test step level property, right? Okay. So any question till now?
No.
So we have added the properties in 4 different levels. The first level is the project level. The next step or next level is the test suite level. The next level is the test case level, and the next level is the test step level. So now, say we have added the properties here in the test case level and test step level, right? Now let's access those. Okay. So the first thing that I will try is I will open this request here in this test case, and then I will try to add this to values, right? Because this is the add operation. So I need to provide these values here, right? So initially what we were doing, we were passing the values directly from here, like 10 and 1,000. If we run it, it will give us the response, and the value, the summation of 1,010, it will be 1010 here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now let us, change this with the property values. So the first thing that we are going to try is we will use the test step level properties. Okay. So to use the test step level properties, what we need to do, we need to use the properties and then a hash symbol, and then the variable name we need to provide. So say I am trying to provide variable 1 here. And similarly here, I will provide dollar opening and closing braces. Then I will have properties, then a hash symbol, and then variable 2. Fine. So which values will be replaced here? So this is the
1,000.
value which we have in here, right?
Yeah.
Variable 1, which is 5,000. So
5,000.
here 5,000 will be replaced, and here similarly 10,000 will be replaced, because we are using the test step level properties. So now if I execute it, we will get the result as 15,000, because 10,000 is getting added with 5,000. Fine. Now say we don't want to use the step level properties here. We want to use the test case level property, right? So for that, what we do, we need to provide a hash, then test case, and then hash variable 1. So the variable names are same, so we don't need to change the variable name. Similarly, here what we can do is we can mention test case and hash variable 2. Fine. So in that case, what property values will be replaced here? So have 1,000 and 10,000. So the response, in the response, we should get 11,000, right? Okay, let's just execute it and see. And we are getting 11,000. So this is what properly. Now we don't need to use, we don't want to use the test case level, rather we want to use the test suite level, right? So we'll write test suite here. Similarly, I'll write test suite here, and in the test suite level, the property values were given as 100 and 500, right? So we should get 600 here. Yes, we are getting 600. And finally, let's try with the project level as well. So that's why I'm replacing it with project. Here also we need to provide project, right? And now if I run it, we get the value as 30, because in the project level, the property values were given as 10 and 20, right? Great, fine. So for this add, we have used this. Okay, so now let's go to the divide test case. And under the divide test case, we have a test step for divide, right? Okay, let's open that and maximize it. Now let's try to use the test step level property here. Okay, I will write yes. And for test step, what do you need to write? Test step level property.
The variables.
So what exactly do I need to write here?
I
For
don't.
the test
I
step
don't
level.
remember.
Okay, so for test step level properties, we need to write properties and then hash, then the variable name. Okay, so variable 2 let's use, and I'll copy the same from here and I will write the same here. And so variable 2, test step level variable 2 will be divided by test step level variable 1, right? Now let's execute.
1 and 2.
Sorry?
Why didn't you put variable 1 in the first step and variable 2 in the second one?
That's up to you. Whatever you want.
Okay.
I just randomly put variable 2 in here and variable 1 in here.
Okay.
So let us run it. So if I run it, what are we getting? Some errors, right? So there are some errors we are getting. So can you guess why are we getting this error?
I don't know. Is it because you wrote it this way, that way?
No. So in that case, if I write variable 1 and here if I write variable 2, it should work, but it won't. We're getting same error. Okay, so the reason we are getting this error is I am trying to use the test step level properties here, right? But have we added the properties in this test step here?
No.
No, right? We have added the properties in this test step, which is for the add test case. But for this divide test case, we have not added any test case level properties or any test step level properties. So even if we write test, hash.
So the same thing what you wrote for add, if we do it over here for divide, it will give an error. That's what you're telling.
Yes. So even if we try to use the test case level property here, we will get error, right? But what if we try to use the test suite level variable here? Will it give us any error?
No.
It shouldn't give, because if you see, all these test cases and test steps are under a single test suite.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's why all these test cases and test steps have the access to the properties of this level, of this test suite level. Okay, so let me keep variable 2 and variable 1. What are the values here? Values are 500 and 100, right? So we should get the result as 5, right? Let's execute. And we are getting the result as 5. What if we
Okay.
try to use the project level variable?
It should not give an error, right? Because it's part of the project.
Yes, correct. So it should give us the value 2. Yes, we are getting 2 because the value of the variable 1 is 10 and the value of the variable 2 is 20 in the project level variables or property. So that's it, 20 by 10, we are getting the value as 2, right? Now let's try to add the step level property here. So to add the test step level property, what we need to do, we need to double click on the test step.
Yes.
Test case, yes.
Mhm.
So if you double click on this test case, we'll get this and we can click on these properties. We can add, say we are giving the values as variable 1 and I'm giving the value here as say 50 and I'm adding another one called variable 2 and the value that I'm giving here is say 10. Okay, this is added. Now I'll close it. Now let's try to use the test case level property. I will use variable 1 here. Here I'll use variable 2 and I will try to use the test case level property here. Now let's execute it. Remember, one thing you need to remember when you are using the project level, test suite level and test case level properties, you need to provide the hash sign here, right? Hash project, hash variable name, hash test suite, hash variable name, hash test case, hash variable name. But when you are using test step level property, at that time you need to add hash properties hash variable name. Okay. So now if I run it, I should get the value as 5, right? 50 by 10, it's
Yeah.
great. Let's now add the test step level property, right? To add the test step level property, we need to right click on the test step. We need to go to add step and then we have this properties value. So I'll click on these properties and this is good. I'm clicking on OK. So this will open up this window. I'll just add 2 properties here called variable 2. The value I'll give here, say 90. And I will add another one called variable 1 and the value I'll give here as 30, right? Okay, now we have the test step level properties for this, right? Now we can add test properties and variable 2. Okay, and here it will be variable 1 and it will be properties hash variable 1. So now if we run it, what value should we get in the response?
3.
3, correct. And we are getting 3. Okay, fine. So this is also done. Now let's move to the multiply one. So here also in the multiply one, if I open the test tab and if I try to use the test step level property, here suppose I'm giving the value directly, right? And if I run it, will it work?
No.
No, because we don't have any value here. So let's quickly add. We'll add the property. Yes, I'll add the variable one. The value I'll give here, say 50. Okay. And this is added. I'll just close this window and let's just execute it again. So we should get 500 here, right? So this is taken from the test step level, and this is we are hard coding the value here. Now, what if I want to use the project level variable here? Can we use that?
Yeah.
Project, it should be hash project, right? Hash project, hash variable one, right? So then what value should we get? We are getting 500 again because in the project level, the value of the variable one was 10. So I can also use variable 2 from the project level, right? So then we should get 1000 because the variable 2, the value of the variable 2 in the project level was 20, right? We can also use the test suite level variable here, right? So in that case, we'll get the response 25,000 because the value of the variable 1 in the test step level is 50 and in the test suite level, the value was 500, right? Okay, so let's go back to our here. Okay, so if I go back to our PPT, so till now, whatever we have covered, so the properties. So we have added the project level properties, right? This is how we added that, and then we have used those values here, right? In the request body. Then we have added the test suite level properties, and then we also use those test suite level properties in our request body. Similarly, we have the test case level properties as well, and we have used those in the request body. And finally, the test step level as well, and we have used those as well, right? So now we can also access these property values using some Groovy script. Okay, so this one just, this is not that much required. This is good to know. So I'll just show you how can we use it, and this is not very tough as well. This is just some script that you need to write, and you can then access those from uh, the uh, uh, any of your test case or any of your test step. So I'll just.
What is this Groovy script?
So Groovy is particularly a language, a coding language.
Oh.
So we can access this property values using writing some Groovy, that is a language specific script, some coding we can write. Okay, so let's see how can we do that. I'm back to my SOAP UI screen and I'll open this one. Okay, so here we have the test step and the test case. So first, let's add some properties in the test case level. So here I will use var1. Okay, I'm not using variable one. So var1, and I'll put the value as 1515. and I will add another property, say var2, and I will give the value as 2020. Fine. Okay, so these are the values that I have added to the test case level property. Fine. Now let's add the test step level property as well. So, okay, I'll do that later. So now we want to access this property values using Groovy script. So for that as well, we need to right click on the test case, test step. Then we need to go to add step. And here you will get this option Groovy script. Okay. Just click on this one. You need to provide a name. So I think the Groovy script name is fine. I just click on OK. So this will open up this particular window for you, right? So here you can write your script, okay? And using those script, you can actually access the properties from different level, right? So how can we do that? It's, this you can do in this way. So tab, you need to provide the name of a variable. So the name of the variable is num1, okay? So num1 equal to, so first let's try to use the project level variable. So for that we need to write context dot expand, and then we need to give the variable name. So to access the project level variable, we need to write dollar and then opening and closing braces, then hash project and hash variable 1, right? And then we want to print this value. So to print this value, we need to write log.info and then the variable name here, and the variable name here is num1. So now let's just run it and see what happens. Okay, so we didn't get any value here. Why?
You didn't provide the variable.
We have provided the variable. This is variable 1, and that is a project level. So I know probably why we are getting this error. So maybe we have not given it capital 1. Let's just execute it and see. Now we are getting the value here. Initially I had written in this way. So this is case sensitive. Okay. That's why you need to be very cautious while writing this variable names and all. So we can also clear this. I'll just clear it once, and then if I write it properly, I execute it, I get the value as the info here, right? 10 is showing. Okay, let's now try to copy it and paste it. I will change the variable name here, and let's try to access the test suite level variable, right? So I want to get the variable 1 and variable 2 from our test suite level. Okay, let's clear it, and if I execute it, I'm getting some error again. Okay, so yeah, so now if I execute it, see, this 10 is coming from the variable 1 at project level. This 100 is coming from the variable 1 from the test suite level. This 500 is from the variable 2 from test suite level as well, right? Now let's try to access the same variables from our test case level, right? Test case level. Okay, I'll give it as num4 and this is num. Okay, here it will be num4, here it will be num5. Now let's just clear it, and if I execute it, I am not getting any value here for num4 and num5. Why? Any guess?
No.
Because while creating the variables in this test case level, I had provided the values as var1 and var2, not variable1 and variable2, right? So that's why it doesn't have any property called variable1 and variable2. In this test case, it doesn't have any property called variable1 and variable2. Now if I change it to var1 and var2, I'll clear it, execute it. See, I'm getting these values, right? And now finally, let's add some properties for this test step, right? So I can add properties, can go ahead. Now I'll add it as number1, say the value I'm giving, what, 5555, and I'm adding another one for number2. I'm giving the value as 1111, right? And I will close it. Now I'll again copy it, paste it here, and I need to change this test case to what? To access the test step level properties, what do you need to write? To access the test step level properties, we need to write properties without any hash sign. So see, for the project level properties, we need to use hash project hash variable name. To use the test suite level properties, we need to use hash test suite hash variable name. Okay. To use the test case level properties, we need to use hash test case hash variable name. But if you want to use the properties of the test step, you need to write properties hash variable name or the property name. Let's now clear it and run it. Oh, we are not getting any. Yes. Why are we not getting the values?
The way we wrote it.
So these are the properties that we added, and why are we not getting these values here?
Maybe we have to provide those numbers.
Sorry?
We have to provide those numbers.
So what we did, we have provided var1 and var2. But var1 and var2 are which level properties? Test case level properties, right? In case, we have used var1 and var2. But in step, we have number1 and number2, right? So that's why we need to change it to number1 and number2. Now if I clear this and then I execute it again, I will get all the values. Right? So this example, we have accessed all the property values from the test, from the project level, from the test suite level, from the test case level, and from the test step level using some, by writing some Groovy script, right? Now what we can do, we can do something called def num 8 equal to num 7 plus num 6, and then we want to print it log dot info num 8. Okay, and I don't need anything else. I'll just remove this log dot info. Fine. And now if I clear the screen here, I run it, so I get this one. Okay, so this is how we can actually access different properties from different levels using the Groovy script. Okay, and then in our requests as well, in the request body as well, we can use these properties from different levels. Any question till now?
No.
Okay, let's go back to our PPT. So now we have also accessed the property values using Groovy script, right? So now we know how to add a Groovy script and how to write this particular things to access those property values. Fine. So this we know now, right? Okay. So the next thing is property transfer or values transfer. So let's just take a small break of 5 minutes here, and then we'll discuss about the property transfer and value transfer, and we will also see why this is required. How can we use this one? Okay. Okay then. Just start the timer. Okay, so before we proceed, just like I wanted to know, did you get any chance, to go through whatever like we discussed before you went for the leave and all?
Very little.
Okay, because it's very important to go through all of this and remember those things, because if you will keep forgetting whatever we have learned earlier,
Yeah.
so that will become a problem for you only.
Yeah.
So try to revise the things so that you don't forget uh, you know the basics, because those were the basics of testing. And in the interview, they are going to ask you question mostly from there. Like
Oh.
if you are giving the interview for a manual testing uh, project, or in a company where if they are hiring you for the manual testing, so first they are going to ask you the basics of manual testing, the theoretical part of manual testing, and
Mhm.
then they will ask you what tool do you know, if you have done API testing or not. So if you say that yes, I know the API testing, I have used SOAP UI and all, so that will be an added advantage. But
Okay.
before coming to this tools and all, if you say that, or if you won't be able to answer the questions from regression testing, retesting, or say priority, severity, different defect life cycle,
Mhm.
then whatever we have covered from the different software development life cycle models, right?
Mhm.
So those are the basics of testing. If they will
Right.
ask you to write some test cases, or write some test plan, or write some test scenarios, so those are the main things. So
Mhm.
that is what your focus should be, and you should be clear with the basics of the testing. So if you are clear with the basics of testing, if you are able to answer them, so these
Ah.
tools and all, these are not very important. You can learn it at any time, even if you are selected and you join a company, you join a project. So there also they will teach you this kind of basic tools. Like if you are trying to use API testing or do API testing, then they might use different kind of tools. SOAP UI is just one of the tools. We have Postman as well, we have different other tools as well. We can do
Mhm.
this API testing using JMeter, and there are other several other tools which are mentioned in the slide. So you
Mhm.
can't, it's not possible for everyone to know all the tools, right? There are
Mhm.
like hundreds of tools. But if you have got the basics clear, and if you know any one of them, it will be very easy for you to learn the new tool. So knowing tools, it is not that required. Yes, if you have the experience, if you know how to use a particular tool, that will give you an added advantage. But you need to
Okay.
remember, and you need to take it very seriously, that you should answer the basics very well. If you are not
Right.
able to answer the basics, then they won't even ask you that what tools do you know, or
Right.
what tools
Yes.
you have used. So
Yeah.
this is something
Sure.
that is very much required. So
Sure.
whenever you get some free time, just revise all those things, whatever we
Sure.
have learned till now.
Sure.
That will actually help you.
Sure.
Okay, so let's start with our next topic, which is the property transfer or values transfer. So what is this property transfer or value transfer, and why is this required? So there could be some scenarios, okay, where uh, the the thing that we are getting from the response, right? So we might need to use that response, the value from the response in our next request, right?
Mm.
What does that mean? So suppose I will just open a notepad and maybe use it. So suppose we have three different requests, okay? Say three different test steps, three test steps, right? We
Mm.
have the step one, then we have the step two, and then we have the step three, okay, in a particular test case. So we have a test case, and in this test case, we have three different steps: step one, step two, and step three. Now, what is happening here, that when we are running the step one, right, we are getting a response here, right?
Mm. Mm.
So in this response, we have some values, right? And then in the step two, we have the request body, right? So in this request, so suppose here we have different values, say value one, value two, and value three, right? And in this
Mm.
step two, we have a request where we want to perform some operation, and there we need this value one, right? Which we are
Mm.
getting from the response of this step one,
Mm.
right? So then how can we do that? So there is two way. The first way is you run the step one, right? When you run the step one, you will get this response. So when you get this response, you will get this value one, right? In this
Mm.
response. And then what you can do, you can just copy this value one and paste it in the request of this step two. And then you can run it from here, from
Mm.
step. So this is a wholly manual approach, right?
Mm.
You need to manually first run the step one, then you get the value one from the response, and then you go to step two and copy this value one and paste this value to this request, and then you run this step two, and
Mm.
then you need to run this step three manually. So yesterday we saw that we can execute this from different levels, right? So if I go back to our previous example, and if I want to run it from the test suite level, what we need to do, we can just simply execute it, right? So this is getting executed from the test suite level, and this is the sequential execution. Now we can also execute it in parallel. So to execute in parallel, I need to click on this one, and then if I execute it, so all the test cases are getting executed in parallel, right? This is how we can execute the test cases or test steps from the test suite level, right? From the test case level also we can execute, right?
Yeah.
So from test case level, if we try to execute, yes, this particular test steps are getting executed, right?
Yeah.
And then from the test step level also we have executed, right? So if I
Yeah.
go to this particular test step, from there I can execute. So now if we consider this particular scenario, so here will we be able to execute the test case from the test suite level or from the test case level?
Yeah.
How can we execute? Because if you execute it from the test case level or from the test suite level, you need to provide the value of step 2 in the step 3, right? That is some manual effort. So if you are executing it from the test suite level, you don't get the chance to copy the value from step 2 and paste it in step 3 and then execute it from the test suite level or from the test case level, right? So we can't do that. So to handle this kind of scenarios, we have some property or we have some capability in SOAP UI, which is called property uh, pro- property transfer or value transfer. Okay. So here what will happen, it will automatically, you know, get the value from the response of a step and it will transfer it to the request of another step, right? So now let's see how it works. Okay, I will open the SOAP UI. I hope it's visible.
The screen is missing.
Yeah. Is it visible now?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So let's just create a new project again. So I'll create a new SOAP project from here. I can do it, right? Okay. So I will just create a new SOAP project from here. And the WSGL, I'll provide this link. And then in the project name, let's give it test uh, property transfer. That is what we are going to test here, underscore calculator, right? So let's just create the project. So this project is created now. So this we don't need. So we can just simply remove this one. Yes, it is removed and we have all these 4 different operations here, right? So now what we need to do, we will create the test suite from here. Okay. So now what we are going to do, we don't need different test cases. We need a single test case with one request for each operation. So we'll have only one test case, but that test case will have different test steps. Okay. And here we, for this example purpose, we don't need multiply and subtract. We'll just keep 2 operations, add and divide here. Okay. So I'm going to add this 2 and this test suite is basically test property transfer underscore test suite. Okay. Yes, this test suite is created now, right? And if I go, if I maximize it, we have only one test case here, right? And that test case is having two steps. One is for add and another one is for divide, right? Any
Yes.
questions till now?
No, no.
Okay. So now what are we going to do? We will add two project level properties. Okay. So the first property is variable one, and the value I'll pass say 10. Okay. The next property is say variable 2, value I'm passing say 20. Okay, let's add another variable because we will do add and divide. So let's just add another variable called variable 3, property called variable 3, and the value here will be say 150, right? So we have three properties, variable 1, variable 2, and variable 3. The value of variable 1 is 10, the value of variable 2 is 20, and the value of variable 3 is 150, right? So now what we'll do, I'll just close this and I will open this test step, and let's just use the property values. So to use the properties, what we need to do, we need to first provide the hash, opening braces, closing braces, then hash. What do we need to write?
This property variable.
Yeah, so what exactly do we need to write here to access the variable 1 and variable 2 from the project level?
Property variable 1.
So properties we will write when we'll try to use the properties of test steps, right?
Yeah.
To use the properties of the project level, we need to use project. Is it clear? Any questions?
Variable 1.
Yes. And similarly, if I want to use the variable 2, I will use variable 2 here, right?
Yeah.
Now if I execute it, I will get 30, right? 10 plus 20, we are 30 here. Now we want to use the divide in the divide step. What we are trying to do, we will use the variable 3 here, right? The property 3 on the project level, right? That is fine. But another thing that we want to do is we want to divide this value, which is 150, by 30, which is the result of the earlier request, the response of earlier request.
Yeah.
So now if you want to do it, if you want to execute it from the test suite level, will you be able to do that? If I go to test suite level and if I execute it, so the add is getting executed, but the divide is not getting executed. We are getting errors here, right?
Yeah.
So you'll be able to understand it better if I add some assertion here. So you remember we added the assertion yesterday. So let's just do it. So it should contain the value 30, right?
Yeah.
10 plus 20, we should get 30 here. So the assertion is added. Now here we want to divide 150 by 30. So we should get the value 5 here. So it should contains the value 5. Okay. So this assertion is failing. Now, if I go to the test suite level and if I execute, so it is failing. Why it is failing? We have only one test case here, and in that one test case, one step is passing, but another step is failing. So because the second step is failing, the test case is overall failing. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's open the test case level. From the test case level, if I execute, we have two steps here. The first step is passing and the second step is failing. Why is it failing? Because this 30 value is not coming here. Right? Now, if we hard code the value here, then only we will be able to execute it from here. So now it will pass because all these two steps are passing. Right? But the problem is, suppose you have changed the values here. Say now you have given 20 and 30, right? You have given 20 and 30. Now, if you execute from the test suite level, it will again fail. Because the first thing is 20 plus 30, it should be 50. So here we can add 50. And then if I go here and execute, so the first step is passing, the second step, this assertion should fail. Okay, this is not failing because we still have the value 30 here. So this is not taking the value from here, right? And that's why we won't be able to execute it from the test suite level or from the test case level. So that's why we need to link it now. We need to link it in such way so that this divide, this one will get the value from the response of the request one or the first test step. So for that, what we need to do? For that, we need to add a property transfer step. So if I right click on the test case or the test steps here, I get an option to add the property transfer step. Right? Earlier we were using the properties. Now we will use property transfer. Okay. I will click here. I need to give a name here. So let's name it as property transfer step. Okay. And let's give it as get add value. Property transfer step. And I need to click on OK. So this particular step is getting added, right? And where this should be in between add and divide, right? Because first the addition will happen. After that, it will give you the response. From the response, you need to get the value, right? Then you have to transfer it to the value of divide, right? Okay, fine. So now we need to add one value transfer here. So let's give it the name as add transfer. Okay, fine. Now let's open all these three. This is the add, this is the divide, okay, and then this is the property transfer step. So we have all these three opened here. So what is the source? What is the source of this property? The source of this property is this add step, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So here you need to choose the source as add, right?
Mhm.
And then the property. So from where this property will come? This property will come from the response, right? This is the response of
Mm.
step one of this add step.
Mm.
And from here we are getting the property value. So that's why it should be response. Okay. The path language we are going to use is XPath. So from here we'll get this value 50, and this is coming from the add result. So that's why we are actually trying to use the XPath. Now the target. So the target is divide, this divide step, and the
Mm.
property is request, because it will change the value here in the request body, right?
Mm.
Okay. So now we need to write the XPath for to get the value of this add result. Okay.
Mhm.
So for that, what we need to use? We need to use the XPath so that we can get the value from this one. For that, we need to write it in this way: double slash, then it will be a star, then it will be a colon, and we need to give add a result. So this is this particular tag, right? So this
Mm.
will give me the value which is there in this add result tag,
Mhm.
50. And now where will it put? It will put here. So it will be double slash star colon, and it will be int b, right?
Mhm.
It will be int b. Just give me a minute. Okay. So now once this is added, we need to test it. So just see, if we click here, so see this is automatically changed to 50, right?
Mm.
Did you notice it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, let's just do it again. I'll just close it for now. Okay, now let's just remove the assertions because we don't need it at this moment. Just remove it. Okay, now what are we going to do? We are going to give this values as 10 and 20 like previous. 10 and 20. Okay, let's
Mhm.
save it, close it. Now look clearly. So we have the value 50 here because in here we have the value 50, right? Now let's
Mhm.
just execute it first. Let's just execute it first. Okay, so let's just remove this one as well. Fine. So now what is the value we are having here? 30,
Okay.
right? And
Yes.
if I open the divide, it is having the value 50 because it was transferred earlier, right?
Mhm.
Now if I open this property transfer step, and now if I execute it, just notice this one. This will be changed to 30
30. Mhm.
because this is now taking the value from this add step, right?
Yeah.
So let's just take another example. Now what we'll do, we'll go to the project level. Let's change this value to 50 and 100. Okay,
Mhm.
fine. And now
Okay.
let's try to execute it from our test suite level. Okay, so before I execute it from the test suite level, let's just go to the divide step. We have the value 30 here, right? And that's why we are getting 5 here. 150 divided by 30 is equal to 5, right? But now, what value we should get here if I execute it?
5.
This is the add request. So in the add request, the values we have changed now is 50 and 100, right? So the add result should
150.
give us 150,
150.
right? And then this value will be transferred here, right? Dynamically.
Yeah.
So this value is also 150. This value is also 150. So we should get the divide result as 1, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's execute it from our test suite level. So add and divide, though both have got executed. And now if I open the divide, see, this is changed to 150. Why is this changed to 150? Because this value is getting passed from the response of this step, right?
Yeah.
This is the advantage of using property transfer step. So we can actually use the response of a particular step, and we can use that value from that response to the request of another response, another step, and that will happen dynamically. So you don't need to manually copy and paste the values from one step to another step and all these things. This will be automatically handled, and you can execute the test cases either from your test suite level or from your test case level as well. Right? So yes, this is a bit complex, but you know, when you try it by yourself twice or thrice, this will be very easy for you as well. Okay, any questions from this one? No, right?
No. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now let's get back to our PPT. Okay. So we have completed this property transfer and value transfer as well, right? So we have added the property transfer step, and there we have, you know, selected the source, selected the property, we have written some XPath as well, and then we have transferred this value to the next step where it is going from the response to the request of the other step, right? Fine. So we know what is property transfer step now. Now, there are some other things which are available in SOAP UI, but that is available not in the free version of SOAP UI. Okay, so these are available in the advanced version or the paid version of SOAP UI. So these are the things that we won't be able to do practically here. So this is a bit complex as well. So for you, for your level, it's better to just know these things, and we don't have these options in SOAP UI as well, right? So if you will try to do this, so for that you need the license, you need to pay, or the same thing is available in if I open the SOAP UI website, so there is something called Ready API, right? So this Ready API is a paid tool. This is not a free tool. SOAP UI is an open source tool, but Ready API is a paid tool. So this is a pro version of SOAP UI. So here you will get these options to use the data-driven testing, or like we can use some data source as the text file, or we can even use the data generator. So what happens here, we this variable 1, this variable 2, these are the test data, right? We are using this test data. So we can have some external sources for this test data as well. Like we can have some text file, or we can have some form of say Excel files, and we can store those test data there in those Excel file or notepad file or text file, and then we can read those test data from this Excel files or notepad files, and then we can pass those data to our test step and test cases. Okay, so that is called the parameterization or data driven testing. So for the interview purpose, this is enough to know. If they ask you that can we do parameterization in SOAP UI, so you need to say that parameterization is not available in SOAP UI, but in the paid version of SOAP UI, which is Ready API. In Ready API, we get the option of parameterization, and we can do that using the different external sources. Like we can use the text files, or we can use the Excel files, and using the Excel file and text file, we can read the data from there, and then we can use those data in our test case and test steps. Okay. So this is the first thing, and the next thing that Ready API provides is data generation. So if we can actually generate the test data from the Ready API itself, and then we can use that particular test data in our test step and test cases. So in case of data generator, we won't have any kind of data source like the text file or like Excel files. Rather, from the Ready API, will provide some samples, and from those samples, it will generate the test data during the execution time, and then it will use that test data while executing the test cases and the test steps. So that is called data generator, right? So parameterization can happen in two ways. The first one is using the data source as text file or Excel files, and the next one is using the data generator, where we can generate the data in the Ready API itself using some sample, right? So see, I've given some samples here, and based on that, it will generate number of test data, and then we can use this data in our test case and test steps. But one thing you need to remember, these options are not available in SOAP UI. These options you'll get only in the Ready API, which is the paid version of SOAP UI.
Yeah.
So that's all we had for today. I know it is a bit advanced, but I'm pretty much sure that if you will, try it by yourself, you will be able to do everything, right? Because it's not that hard. You just need to follow and do it by yourself. So if you just do it by yourself once or twice, you'll be able to understand it fully. Okay. So any queries from today's session?
Yes, when I start doing it, I'll have queries.
Yeah. So try it once, and then if you have any query, you can ask me tomorrow, and we can go through that. Okay. So that's all I had for today. We are good to go then. Have a good night, and see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining.
You have a good day too. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.